My name is Coach Tony.
Hi, my name is Jalen Penny.
Hi, my name is Kadeem Green.
Hi, I'm Josh Collins, and welcome to
the Toben Series podcast.
Hey, yo, Devontae, man, we're back with another Toben series, bro. Another one. And like I said the other day, as we continue to progress in this Toben series, the guests keep getting better. But before we get to our guest today, though, Devontae, I want to give you a shout out, man, just for being you, bro, for being alive, for praising God.
Hey, amen to that. Amen to that. As you said, they keep getting better and better. Let's keep this series rolling.
I think we need to get you another Toben jersey. You know, I like the color and everything, but I think we need another Toben Toben jersey.
I would like that. If you got one for me, hook me up.
Tony, Coach Tony, where you at? Hey, today we're alongside former pro basketball player, former Division I basketball player, and current basketball trainer, Kadeem Green. How you doing, boss?
I'm good, man. I'm glad to be here. Glad to talk basketball, share my experiences with you all, and talk a little bit about Toben basketball.
For sure. We're going to get you started off the right way. So we're going to get you started off today with a game called...
Wow. You queued me up and I totally we are playing overrated, underrated. Is that what we call it again, Steven? I'm bugging right now.
That's what we're playing today. Overrated, underrated.
We are playing overrated, underrated, Kadeem, and what we're going to do here is I'm going to give you some categories, whether it's basketball players or not, and you're just going to simply tell me kind of quick hitters if it's overrated or if it's underrated. Get the brain flowing a little bit. All right?
Clearly, you need your brain to flow a little bit, Devontae, today.
It is not flowing right now, but you know what? In a couple seconds, it will. You good? You understand the rules?
Yeah, for sure.
All right. First one I'm going to give you, Dwight Howard.
Overrated.
Okay, Skittles.
Overrated.
Okay. Nintendo 64.
Underrated.
Okay.
Yeah. I kind of want to know why. I kind of want to know why for Nintendo 64.
Yeah, I know people who are still playing that till this day, man.
That is a fact, bro. Zelda, Mario Bros.
Yep.
Ridiculous. I used to have that myself, man. I wish I still had it. I don't know where I put it. Speaking of games, Fortnite. Overrated? Okay, you know, the kids love that these days. You know, I play here once in a while, but yeah. So let's go with Gilbert Arenas.
Underrated.
And last one here, Sour Patch Kids.
I'd say underrated. Okay. Underrated.
Hey, we went through those quick today. Usually there's some, but I like the answers. I think I agree with all of them too. That's the thing. But that's it for the game today. Let's get the show started.
I have a question for you though, because you mentioned it when you talk about Nintendo 64. Who's your character in Smash Bros?
Link.
He's a linker. Okay.
Link's the big dog in that game, man.
Give me a Bowser and we're all good, man. I'm telling you, I'm taking it home. I'm a Bowser guy.
Bowser's too slow, man. He's too slow, man.
But he's powerful. He's like a Shaq. You feel me? You just can't stop him.
I was definitely a Pikachu back in the day. That guy was unstoppable.
Pikachu. Wow. That's interesting. I've never heard of anybody be a Pikachu, so that's a first for me. But Kadeem, I got to ask you, though, how's 2020/2021 been for you?
It's been real good, man. Honestly, I'm thankful for the opportunities I had this past year. And financially, I've been able to make more money now than I was before. So that's a good thing, you know. But at the same time, too, it's been a lot on, I'm pretty sure it's been a lot on not just me, but everybody mentally, you know what I'm saying? This whole COVID thing's taking a toll. Mm-hmm. Probably ready for all this shit to be over, right?
Facts.
For sure.
Facts. I gotta ask you, though, because, you know, you and I were talking about this prior to jumping on the show. We mentioned that Doug Ford's, his net worth or whatever is now worth $50 million or some shit like that, just because of his sticker business. Has this pandemic helped you make any gutsy moves in terms of business, in terms of life, stuff like that in general?
Yeah, for sure. I feel like now I'm more willing to take bigger risks, you know, just because I'm just like, yo, like this whole COVID thing showed me that, yo, nothing's guaranteed, nothing's promised in life. Your life can change it in a day, in a minute, in a second, you know what I mean? So you just gotta take things for what they are, you know, and try to seize every opportunity given to you, you know?
Facts. Obviously, the pandemic has been a struggle for a lot of people, including myself, you know, just not being on the basketball court, not being able to do stuff that I would regularly do on a regular basis pre-COVID. What has the biggest struggle been for you in particular?
Yeah, for sure. The training aspect of it, you know, just being active, you know, because like we were talking earlier, you know, I've been training since I was like 10, 11 years old, you know what I mean? So this is probably the longest period in my life where I haven't been able to hit the gym 5 times a week, 4 or 5 times a week, you know, when prior to COVID, I was in the gym, like training 5, 6 times a week, sometimes 2 times a day, you know, but there's no gyms now, right? So I kind of improvise doing outside workouts and stuff, but at the same time too, in the winter time, you can't really do that, right?
Unless you're one of those crazy white people that have cold blood, apparently.
But you know, I got the iron blood in me, man. You know.
Neither do I, bro. I'm one of those white. I'm one of the white kids I'm talking about. But shit, don't put me outside in wintertime. Shit. There's a ton of kids in Canada that are losing hope to play basketball right now. What are some tips that you'd tell them to keep them motivated?
I would tell them to stay focused, don't lose their eyes on the prize, and just continue to do little things every day to help them better themselves. Whether that's just like dribbling the ball inside or doing some hand-eye coordination stuff, or there's always something you can do. There's always something you can do. That's what I realized over the last few years in my life, that there's always something you can do to better yourself. You know what I mean? Never stay stationary, you know, always strive to be a better version of yourself. There's always something you can do, even if it's push-ups or just squats or lunges, whatever. I even tell that to Sam. I told that to Sam, like, there's always something you can do. You know, always try to strive to be active.
For sure. No, for sure. If you were a kid going through a pandemic, what's some advice that you'd want an older head to give you?
Probably just that what I just said. Just be active. Always be active. Always strive to be a better version of yourself. There's always something you can do. There's 24 hours in a day. You know what I mean? Make the most out of it every single day. Live every day like it's your last. You know.
Fair enough. No, that's a big one right there. And you know, even during this pandemic, it's really given me in particular a different viewpoint. You know, obviously like beforehand I would pray, but I wasn't consistently praying. Now I feel like I'm a lot more connected to God and stuff. And this pandemic has really brought me back to that and to understand that, you know, life isn't guaranteed all the time. It's one of those things where you really have to take it into perspective and appreciate what you have in front of you. So I agree with you on that one, man. I definitely agree with you on that. But I want to talk to you about your personal game a little bit. Back when you were playing AU in high school at Vaughan, you were labeled as a quote unquote big man because of your height. Did you ever work on guard moves, or was it always post moves?
No, that's the thing. Like, I felt like my time and the time now is a little different. Whereas back in my day, like just because I was the tallest guy, they would throw me on the block and be like, yo, you have to play the 4 or 5 position, depending on the size of the team, right? And just make me stay on the block and do block work. But if you know me, you know that I'm versatile. You know what I mean? That's what coming out of high school, I was recruited as a versatile big man. You know what I mean? And that was kind of, I kind of realized that from when I used to, I had tongue twister, but I had opportunities as a youth to be able to go down south, to play ball down south, to see the difference, to compare the difference between basketball down south and basketball here. So I realized at a young age that, I'm tall in Canada, I'm big in Canada, but like if I want to play at the highest level, I got to expand my game. I got to be able to do more than just stay on the block and do block work, you know? And that's why from a youth, I always strive to be more than just a block player, you know?
I feel that. No, I feel that. And as you mentioned, you know, the game has obviously changed. If you play now, you'd definitely be like a stretch 5 or a 3-4 even. Most coaches, when they see someone walk in the gym and they're tall, they automatically think that they're a center. What's some advice you give to coaches who think that way, and to players who are in the same boat because of the height?
I would say, as a coach, and I actually coached AU like 2 summers ago. So as a coach, don't always look at players based on or based on their height or size or weight or whatever, their physical appearance, I would say, strive to put a player in the best position for him. You know what I mean? Because I feel like a lot of coaches, they lose sight of that. They lose sight of that as a coach, you're supposed to help these kids grow into the best version of themselves, whether that's on the court or off the court, both. You know what I mean? It's not just on the court. Sorry, it's on the court and off the court. You know what I mean? So you always got to strive to put these players in the best position as possible, not just a position that benefit your team at that time because it's bigger than their team at that time. You know what I mean? Because if you want these kids to, for example, if you have an elite level athlete coming in on your team, you want him to be the best version of himself. So once he's done with your program, he can represent your program at the higher level. You know what I mean? It's not just about him being able to, if you need a 5-man on your team, you put him on the block because you know he's tall and he's going to grab rebounds and, you know what I mean? Yeah. And he's going to benefit your team at that specific time. It's not about that. It's about the overall growth of the individual player. You know what I mean? So you put him in a position, even if he's tall and he has guard skills, you put him in a position where he's going to be able to showcase his skills so that he can reach the next level. You know what I mean? And then once he reaches the next level, he represents your team. So as a coach, I'd say, think more about the player, you know what I mean, instead of yourself. Because I feel like a lot of coaches, I even experienced this to myself many times, that a lot of these coaches are too busy thinking about themselves and keeping their job and, you know what I mean? And feeding their, I mean, that's human nature though, like feeding your family, keeping your job, but it's bigger than that. I promise you, if you think more about, if you're more selfless with it, things will work out for you. You don't even got to think about, you know what I mean, providing for your family and keeping your job, because it'll just happen naturally. You know what I mean? As a player, I would say, just do your best. Like whatever position you're in, just play as hard as you can and just go out there and give it all. You know, give it your all. Don't think too hard about like you're not playing. You're a 3-man, but you're playing the 5. And you don't want to play the 5, because honestly, that happened to me too throughout my time. Then it kind of threw me off. But you just got to play through it, play as hard as you can, and like I said, everything will take care of itself.
No, for sure. And you even talked about skill wise as well. I want to talk to you about your mid range package, because obviously, from what I know, you had I don't know if you still have it, but you had a great mid range. Like your mid range game was on point. If you took about 10 mid range shots, you're scoring about 8 of them, 8 maybe 9. You know what I mean? So you shot at a very high clip for the mid range. But I want to know though, other than the obvious, you know, getting in the gym, working on your game, what other tools did you use to perfect your mid range game?
Back in the day, I used to watch a lot of KG because that was one of my favorite players back in the day. So I used to kind of like watch like NBA players and try to like use some of their tools and implement it in my game. So that's the biggest thing, really, just watching basketball, you know, because developing a basketball IQ, I feel like playing is one thing, but watching is underrated nowadays. I feel like a lot of players that's underrated, you know what I mean? They don't really take that as serious as they should be taking it, you know? So I'd say watch players at the highest levels, and don't just watch like for highlights and all that stuff, you know what I mean? Like crossovers, you know what I mean? Fancy dunks and all that stuff. Watch like fundamentals I'm talking about, you know? Like, is this guy fundamentally sound? Like, what is he doing fundamentally? You know what I mean? I'd say that's the biggest thing, really.
Fair enough.
That's very fair. I definitely see the KD comparison, and you know, KD as a whole is just a ridiculous package in itself. So we're not going to elaborate on KD and what he brings to the game. But Kadeem, you know, this being a Toben series, and you played in and won some big tournaments with Toben basketball. Can you talk to us about what playing for Toben means for you?
Honestly, man, that's an amazing experience. Like what Tony did, I don't think I ever seen any other program do inside in the GTA. Like Tony pretty much he treated us like we were in a Division 1. You know the treatment you get when you're playing Division 1, Devontae. Like that's what it was like when we were with Tony. Like he would take care of all our meals. He would fly us out. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? Like all that stuff that you all that treatment that you get when you're playing Division 1. Like that's what we got with him. So I feel like a lot of players who were on the team who never got that experience playing Division 1, they kind of got a taste of that when they played for Toben, you know. So I felt like that was the biggest thing with Tony, you know, what he did a little different. But, you know, not too many people are fortunate to have the finances that he has, you know. But like I said, he was the first to really do that.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
From what I've seen, at least at the men's level, you know what I mean?
That's a fact. I definitely have never seen anybody, not just the GTA, but I haven't seen anybody kind of do that ever. But that's just me. I don't know if you've seen that yourself. But we like to ask everybody this question: how did you meet Coach Tony?
I met him through Nabil. Nabil is one of the OG members of Toben. So back in the day when Nabil was first playing for Tony, Nabil used to tell me about Tony all the time, and I was just like, I was too busy doing my thing, like playing pro and like focusing on my pro career and stuff like that. So I wasn't really thinking anything about it. And then that money tournament came up at that time in Halifax, and then Tony told me Nabil introduced me to Tony at the time, and Tony has told me he's looking for players, and then that's when we linked up, and it was history after that, you know.
It's crazy. I actually want to ask you about that, get a little bit more into detail about the Halifax tournament. You know, you played in it, and Coach Tony mentioned in the other show that we had with him that was his favorite team that he's coached. You know, what does it mean to know that you're a part of that team? And if you want to elaborate on that Halifax tournament a little bit.
Which team was he talking about? The first year, second year, or third year?
That's a great question. I'm pretty sure he's talking about that first one.
Okay. Yeah, that first one was the craziest year, man, because it's like we went down there with like 8 guys, but not everybody was a high level player, you know. And then we were playing with like some of the some of the top ballers coming out of the Toronto, you know, like Marvell and those guys, right? So it was a battle. Like I remember the championship game, Negus got hurt. So Negus was one of the key players on our team at that time. So he hurt his toe or something. So before the championship game, like the game before the championship game, he hurt his toe. So he was out for the championship game. And like I remember players who were like, it kind of gave me the kind of like feel like I was playing Division I, like I was in the States again, you know what I mean? Like I was back in college or university, you know what I mean? It gave me that feel. So I kind of got that rush, like, yo, like we're a man. You know how it is, like, yo, when you're a man down, everybody has to pick up slack for that guy, right? Not being there.
You got to raise the roof a little bit.
Exactly. So we got that feel and we just turned up, you know? That's when Josh Collins hit, like he hit like 8 threes or 9 threes or something crazy like that. Or 10 threes or something crazy like that.
Okay.
I can't remember the exact number, but he went nuts that game.
So it was one of those. It was one of those tournaments. I didn't know that. We didn't get to elaborate on exactly what happened in that first one, but that's good to hear. And obviously, when money's on the line, everything's different. So
exactly, right?
So I'm gonna hit you with a quick hitter here. Best Toben moment.
I would say that first year in that Halifax tournament when we won.
Okay, so you too. Okay, man, Steven, we should have been there. Everybody's saying we didn't get to see that.
Mm-hmm. Yo, that was a legendary game, man. That was a legendary game, for real.
So I'm gonna ask you this. So many great basketball players that went to Vaughan, including yourself. You know, what are your thoughts on how the school evolved and decline-wise after you left? Because there was kind of a ship sailing or a little diversity in between.
I think overall, Vaughan exceeded my expectations, to be honest with you, from back then till now. Like they came a long way, like very long way. You know, now they're like a prep school or something like that, right? A prep academy or something like that. But I remember back in the day when I was at Vaughan, my 9th grade year, I don't know if you guys know, but my 9th grade year, I played senior. I played on the senior team my first year. So like things were mad different at that time. You know, Vaughan was known, but they were still on the come up a little bit. You know, we still had some good players around us, but we never really had like Division I players coming through like that. You know, like probably like my class was the first class really, you know, like me, Nick, like CJ, you know what I mean? Like we're the first kind of guys to like, you know what I mean? To kind of take Vaughan to the next level, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, Vaughan's came a long way, man. From when I was going there till now, it's like day and night. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Now, you hit a point there. Knowing that Vaughan became prep, your generation had a lot to do with that. Would you have still left even if Vaughan was a prep school while you were there?
Nah, I probably wouldn't have left.
Okay. I kind of figured. No, I went to school in the States too. I probably would have stayed or transferred in if they were prep at the time. So I agree with you on that one. Now, when you see guys coming from Vaughan who became
What year did
successful,
you leave?
my sophomore year, so I went to the States when I was a junior. That had to be like 2012 maybe.
Damn, you're young, bro. You're a young book.
Yeah, I know, right? 2012, I was in university those times.
That's actually, it's crazy to hear because when I talk to Steven and he talks to other guys and he mentioned all these dates, I'm like, what the hell? I was just young. And now I'm on the other side when you hear it from me. But yeah. So 2012, 2011, one of those years, if I'm not mistaken. But when you see guys coming from Vaughan who became successful within basketball, how does that make you feel? Because there is a spree of them now.
Honestly, it makes me feel those young boys probably don't even know about like me and guys my age, like Vlad. I don't know if you know Vlad. That was a big time player too that came out of Vaughan. Mitchell Jr.
Mitch Wiggins, yep. Shout out Mitch Wiggins.
Yeah, shout out Mitch. These guys, those young boys don't even know that those guys and me and even Nick Wiggins and CJ, we paved the way for those guys, and they probably don't even know like about us. They probably only know Andrew Wiggins because obviously he made the league, right? But
sorry to cut you off, but they actually retired both Nick and Mitch's jersey too, probably because of Andrew. But they have all three of them. Their jersey retired now.
Oh, they retired Mitch's too, eh?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I didn't even know that. I knew about Andrew, but I didn't know about Nick and yeah, I figured Nick too because Nick, you know what I mean. He did it big too. Mm-hmm. But I didn't know Mitch too. They retired Mitch's jersey. Mm-hmm. But yeah, like these players, these young boys, they probably only know about like you said, the Wiggins, right? But like there's a lot of great players that come out of Vaughan prior to those guys. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. That's for sure.
Like, I don't know if you remember Vlad, Steven. You remember Vlad? You probably don't know him. He's older.
Maybe. Oh, the white guy. The white guy that's Mitch's right hand.
Big man, right?
Yeah. He's always with Mitch, right? Mitch and him are like best friends, no?
Back in the day?
Back in the day.
A little bit, but he used to do his own thing. He used to do his own thing. I don't know where he ended up playing, but he was like the top recruit. When I went there, he was the top recruit. Okay. Like he was the man. He was a man still, but I don't know where he ended up playing. I think he went like to the States. Like he was one of the he was the one who really during my time who really blew up Vaughan. You know what I mean? Because everybody was like, "Yo, who's this Vlad guy playing on Vaughan?" And he's getting looks from the States and stuff. You know what I mean? He's the one who really built that interest towards Vaughan back in my day.
Fair enough.
Vlad, huh? That's interesting. Because I only know one Vlad.
I'm about to say all these Vlads, Devontae. All these Vlads.
I only know one Vlad, and that man's a trainer. Shout out to Vlad, man. Had him on.
Hey, Devontae, I think we have to give a shout out to Vlad every Toben episode now, bro. He's been getting shouted out every single episode, so I think we got to continue that trend.
That's a good man right there. But Kadeem, I got one more question for you. We had Gus and Josh on the show. Now, can you share with us a funny moment that you had with them, or individually, or both of them, or individually? Sorry.
Man, I gotta dig deep in my memory banks.
I know it's been quite some time.
Man, gosh.
That's the thing. That's a little banger.
The thing about that is when I went to Vaughan, Sharma was my coach because I played senior, right? So AJ Sharma was my coach at the time. Gus was just the assistant at the time, you know?
Yeah.
So I don't really have too many moments with Gus. But Josh, I could say Josh is just a funny guy. He's just funny, you know. He likes crack jokes and shit. Man, I can't really think of anything right now, man. Sorry, man.
That's all right, man.
Too much traveling, too much different teammates and over the years. Man, I can't really think anything right now. If anything comes to my mind though before the end of the show, I'll definitely.
Fair enough.
Fair enough. Most definitely fair enough. Shout out Gus. Shout out Josh. Y'all can check out their episode when they come out soon. After Vaughan, you headed or after your prep school in North Carolina, you head over to Mizzouri University. Why do you choose Mizzouri?
So at the time, I was like, Mizzouri was recruiting me since I was like in grade 10. So I was like, I feel like there's some kind of loyalty here, right? They've been recruiting me since I was in 10th grade. You know what I mean? They've been consistent with it too. Mm-hmm. So that was a big thing for me at the time. I'm like, these guys really want me. So they, you know what I mean? They fed me the dream too, like all these coaches do. You know what I mean? I also like the way they played and they developed big man. Like at the time when they were recruiting me, Damari Carroll went there. So they kind of were comparing me to Damari Carroll. They're like, yeah, we want you to come in here and kind of take his role. Be like a big man, but like be like a athletic wing big man, you know what I mean? Not just a block man. Mm-hmm. So that was a big thing for me, and the style of play. Like back in the day, they used to say Missouri's fastest 40 minutes in college basketball. So that was big for me. Like I like to run and gun and play that kind of style. So at that time, Mizzouri was like one of the top schools for that programs for that style of play. So. And then also too, my 12th grade year, I ended up tearing my Achilles. So then I lost a lot of options. Like other schools, like Memphis was recruiting me, Wake Forest, Oklahoma. Like a lot of major schools were recruiting me. But like once I tore my Achilles, I lost a lot of offers. You know, because you know how it goes. They're just like, yo, they don't want to take the risk. So I was just like stuck with Mizzouri. You know.
Fair enough. And I'm glad you actually touched up on your injury because your first year you were at Mizzouri University, you had to redshirt. Talk to us about your injury and how it happened.
So this was my 12th grade year. I was having an amazing year at the time, man. But unfortunately, I was in practice one day, and I just like one of my teammates was a play where one of my teammates. I still remember this. I'm never gonna forget this. I was a swing, so one of my teammates swung the ball to me. I was on the right wing, so I was sweeping towards the baseline, and as I sweep, I made my move and I pushed off because you know you sweep and then you push off, right? And then as soon as I pushed off, that's when I heard my Achilles just buckle. You know what I mean? It just. But I think it had a lot to do with the gym we were playing in at the time because the gym wasn't the best, you know.
Mm-hmm. Where was your mental at?
Honestly, man, I lost a lot of confidence, man. I'm not even gonna lie to you, man. I lost, especially making that transition from high school to university, and then not playing for a full year. I lost a lot of confidence. I'm not even gonna lie to you, and that was the biggest thing for me, just getting my confidence back. You know, it took me some time to actually get my confidence back, and you guys both know that in the game of basketball, you know, confidence is huge, you know? Confidence is pretty much everything sometimes, you know what I mean? So, yeah.
The following year, though, you were able to contribute to the team. You were able to get back on the court. You were able to be you again. Obviously, the minutes weren't fully there the way I'm sure you probably hoped for, though. But just being able to be back on the court, where was your mental state at that year?
I was starting to regain that confidence, but then another thing too, like another tribulation that happened at that time was a coaching change too, right? So I redshirted mainly because of. So the craziest thing about this whole thing is, so my first year when I was redshirting, right? The coach at the time, halfway through the season, because we weren't winning as much as the coach expected us to win, right? So halfway through the season, this guy's like wanted to pull my red shirt, wanted me to play. But I was like, it's a waste, right? I redshirted half of the season. Like, why would I just play for like half of the season? You know what I'm saying? Like, jump into the rotation. I'm probably not even going to get the minutes I want to get, right? So I just like, I didn't even want to risk it. I was like, nah, I'm just going to wait till next year. So then I wait till next year, and then the coaching change happens, right? So then new coach comes in, implements his whole new system, and then he changes my position and everything, and it kind of threw me off. So that was another barrier too that I had to overcome at that time. Right. And another thing too is like I wasn't, like you said, I wasn't getting as much minutes as I should have been getting. Like I felt like there's some players on my team at that time that were getting more minutes than me that shouldn't have been getting more minutes than me, you know? I played the same position, but you know how it is, man. Like, new coaches come in, they have their own ideologies of how they want to run things and use players, right?
Yeah. No, for sure. And that's the unfortunate part too, is when coaches want to come in and try to change ship or try to change everything going on. I get it. Obviously, when you're a new coach, whatever system you have in place, that's what you try to implement to the team and stuff like that. Sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes it does work. It's kind of like Coach K going to coach at UNC. I don't think that'll actually work, to be honest with you. I think that what Coach K does on Duke is perfect. You know, what Roy Williams did on UNC was perfect. You know, like what Calipari does on Kentucky. I don't know if that would work on Mizzouri or something like that, right? So you're 100% right. Coaches come in, they try to change everything they try to change what's going on, and it doesn't always work. Sometimes it does work, but it also hurts the people that are there, like yourself. You know what I mean? So obviously a coach that recruits you to come in that first year, oh yeah, you're going to be like the DeMarie Carroll, like you mentioned. But now you're going to another coach is like, oh, well, you got to learn a whole nother system pretty much and pretty much have to do what I say. But you're like, bro, that's not what I want to do right now. Mm-hmm. You know, but anyways, back to that for a second, though. I want to ask you guys win the Big 12 championship. Run us through that overall experience.
Honestly, man, besides the coaching staff at the time, man, I was thankful. I'm thankful. Some wonderful players wonderful character guys on that team. Good players, you know what I mean? Unselfish players, you know? Mm-hmm. Guys who just had that winning mentality that were down to just win regardless, even if they have to take 5 to 10 less shots a game, you know what I mean? They don't really care. They just wanted to win. Mm-hmm. So I'm just thankful to be a part of that team. And the biggest thing is that the coaching staff that brought in the guys before, like brought in that same team, the coaching staff that was there before that brought in that team, mm-hmm. they kind of like built the team based on certain principles, you know what I mean? Which I felt like is what made us successful, you know? Mm-hmm. And I'm just thankful to be a part of that. And it was an amazing experience, and I'm never going to forget, like, we beat up on a lot of teams that year, man. I remember, like, we crushing teams by like 20, 30, 40 points, you know what I mean? Like, yeah. You know what I mean? Like, we were one of those teams, you know?
You guys are definitely doing your thing, but I'm going to bring you back to memory lane for a second, where this might not be very, very good to talk about. And I understand if it's an emotional time when you talk about this, but
it's all good.
But no the first round of the NCAA tournament, you guys run into Norfolk State. You being the 2nd seed, then being the 15th seed. They beat you guys. Talk to us about all those emotions after the game in terms of locker room.
So I actually left right before that. I was like, I actually left the team, and because I was just like, at that time, the coach, I just felt like, so I'm gonna share the story with you guys. I don't even really talk about this. We
got a hidden gem right now. We got a hidden gem. I like it.
So I'm gonna share the story with you guys. So this is like maybe like a month or 2 months. I think it was like a month or two before that moment in the NCAA tournament. So we're playing Kent Bazemore. I forget what school you went to. Old Dominion. So we went to Old Dominion to play Kent Bazemore. He was on a team at that time. So we go to Old Dominion. Like, we're in Missouri. We're top. I think we're top in the country, top 10 in the country at that time. Old Dominion's like not even ranked. So we knew we were gonna go in there and crush them. We just were focused on stopping Kent Bazemore at that time, right? So we go there. We're playing whatever the game. So the coach is like, okay. Like I said, the coach wasn't dealing. I felt like the coach wasn't giving me as much minutes as I thought he should have been giving me at that time. So we go to Old Dominion. This guy puts me in the game checks me in, you know what I mean? So I check in. I go up and down the court for one possession. This guy checks me out. I was like, I didn't even do anything wrong. Like, we watched film after the game, and I watched it a few times. I'm like, I didn't even do anything wrong. So I go meet with this guy, and he couldn't even tell me like what I did wrong. You know what I mean? He's just like saying, he's like, yo, like, we got seniors on the team. They're their priority. You're gonna be here. You know how it goes, Devontae, all that bullshit. They're like, yeah, you're going to be here for a couple more years, so we want to focus in on the seniors. They're going to be – I'm like, yo, like, it's not even about that. It should be about playing the best guys, you know what I mean? It shouldn't be about giving somebody more minutes because he's a senior. You know what I mean? Like that's bullshit. You know what I mean? So after that is when I left Missouri. I'm like, yo, like I can't stay here. You know what I mean? And that's when I left. And I was like right before that tournament, not too long before that tournament. And then the funny thing about that is that the coach was calling me down. He's like, yo, come back. And I was stubborn at the time. So I'm like, nah, like, fuck that. You already, you know what I mean? You pretty much, that never happened to me before, fam. Coach would check me in for like 2 possessions. I go up, 1 offensive possession, 1 defensive possession. Then he subs me out. And it's not like I was fucking doing something crazy or I committed a foul or wasn't playing defense or something. He just literally checked me out and had no reason behind why he did it. You know what I mean?
And that's what we were talking about earlier today before we jumped to the show, just when you and I were talking, like, bro, this is literally what coaches are doing sometimes, how they position their players. It's BS. It's truly bullshit. Like you didn't even have enough time to get a sweat. It really just kind of sounded like he just wanted to put you in the game because you're on a scholarship. He has to put you on the game. Apparently, you have to put scholarship kids in the game. You got your minutes, and then said, "Oh, well, I played my scholarship guys." No, that's some BS, and that's first of all, thank you for sharing that story because that's a gem right there. But second of all, that's some bullshit right there. But that actually kind of brings me to my next question. Obviously, now we know why you transferred to Ohio, but you had to sit out majority of that year due to transfer rules. I want to ask you though, with everything going on right now, the transfer portals, how much does that piss you off?
A lot, man. Like I was saying, these kids don't even know how good they got it right now, man. That's the thing. you know, Devontae, like, you know, imagine my time, right? Imagine my time, bro. Just imagine. If you thought your time was bad, bro, just imagine my time, bro.
Yeah, you're right.
Just imagine it, man. But luckily, at least the NCAA is learning, right? They're learning and they're getting better. At least they're striving to get better. But like, why are you gonna punish a kid for transferring? You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Like, why do you got to sit out for transferring to try to better yourself or put yourself in a better position, right? Like, this doesn't make sense to me. Luckily, I didn't have to sit out the whole year at that time, but like, I still sat out. But it's just a similar situation happened. The coaching change happened. Same thing. Coaching change happened. I sat out for half of the year, so I wasn't in the rotation. You know how it goes, Devontae. Once a certain period of the season goes by, the coaches have their rotation and they're not really trying to change the rotation, right? So I wasn't really in the rotation. But then luckily, he gave me some opportunities. You know, I was able to do my thing with the little opportunities I had. But like, still, he was still stuck in like the rotation thing. You know what I mean? Like, yo, I have my 9 guys in the rotation, and these are my 9 guys I'm going with. You know what I mean? It's like it's kind of tough to break unless you're gonna go out there and drop like, yo, there'd be games I'll drop like 10 points in 10 minutes. You know what I mean? Like, and he still wouldn't be like, you know what I mean? He still wouldn't want to put up my position in the rotation. You know what I mean? He still would be like kind of like iffy. Because the craziest thing about that is that when I went the Ohio team, they made the Sweet 16 prior to the season. So that's why I went there. I'm like, yo, these guys are good. They made the Sweet 16. So maybe we can go on another run when I go there, right? But then it kind of backfired. We got a new coach, and he's like, yo, yeah, you know what I mean? We got a new coach, and then he was like, well, I'm sticking with the same team that got these guys to the Sweet 16 last year. You know what I mean? I'm trying to stick with the same guys. So,
damn. I gotta ask you though before we transition off from your NCAA career, but I gotta ask you, what was it like playing with Aaron Kraft? Aaron Kraft, right? Aaron Kraft? Is that his name?
No, I never played with Aaring Kraft.
Oh, you didn't play with him?
You're thinking of Ohio State.
You're thinking of Ohio State.
You went to Ohio.
I went to Ohio University.
Okay. Ohio State was tough though with Aaron Kraft. I actually wanted to know what it was like playing with him because he, in my opinion, he was tough, but obviously he didn't make it afterwards. But NCAA career-wise, he was definitely a good point guard though. So
yeah, for sure. He was undersized though. That was his problem. He was undersized.
Facts.
Yeah. So no, and I want to reiterate what you said of that last part. You know, trying to crack the rotation in situations like that. It's either, like you said, you score. You have to average whoever's in your position. You have to average more than them on a consistent level, or injury. So those two things, you know, when a coach you probably get into conference play, you probably have about 4 games. And then that coach is probably going to solidify, okay, this is who we're running with. This is who we're going to go into tournament with. If somebody doesn't get injured or somebody doesn't get that playing time given, if they don't do it for a run or a series of games, that coach and that staff is pretty locked in. So, no, for guys that are going to listen to this podcast and when you go into a season, man, I always say first impression is everything. In life, too.
That's a fact.
Right? You go into a business office, you go into a different environment, first impression is everything. Whether it's the way you dress, whether it's athletics and you have to perform that day, that coach probably within the first 2 to 3 workouts will know who he wants his starting 5 to be, know where he's going to play guys here. Not saying it's fair because people do improve, but, you know, that coach is going to determine what he's going to rock with, at least for the early part of the season. So just to reiterate that. But let's transition here from, you know, you transferred to Ryerson in 2013, and you played there for 3 years. Now, you played a lot of minutes there compared to what you had in the NCAA. Did it feel good to get those minutes you're looking for, you know, prior to committing to your D1 schools? Because I know that's a huge transition now.
Yeah, it was a good. I mean, it felt good just to be out there and be able to, you know, like you said, get the minutes and have my minutes. But at the same time, too, I felt like, you know, like honestly felt, even though like the OUA is all right, it's like it's not bad, it's all right, but it's more guard oriented.
Yeah.
So that's what I didn't like about the OUA or at Ryerson. But like you said, man, I kind of like use the opportunity kind of to just boost up my regain that confidence that I lost over the years, right? Transferring from school to school and then sitting out and then injury. So I felt good in that sense, but at the same time too, I was kind of disappointed in myself at the time because I was like, yo, like, you know what I'm saying? I started off at Mizzouri and now I'm at Ryerson. No disrespect to Ryerson. Mm-hmm. But you know what I mean? Just the level of basketball is not the same. You know what I mean? That's clear to any basketball player. You know what I mean? Yeah. But at the same time, too, man, I had an amazing experience at Ryerson. I'm thankful to be around that group of guys and play for Roy Rana. You know, he's a good coach. Showed me a lot. Still keep in contact with him till this day. So shouts out to Rana.
No, and I always talk to guys about, you know, Ryerson as a team. I like to call them the Boston Celtics of the NBA just because they're always guard heavy, right? They're going to have their 2 to 3 guys that at the guard space that just go at it. Now we have this last little era where we had, what's his name? I'm forgetting his name. And Right. And that went to Florida State. So they had the little KG moment where they had a big and they're throwing it down low. They had their big 3. But before that, I think it's safe to say that they're extremely guard heavy and everything that they do. But, you know, yeah, Coach Rowe, I just have to leave it at that. We all know his accolades. We all know his resume. So, you know, I know he gets the job done as he did. Now, in 2013 and 2014, you guys lose to Ottawa and Carleton. We got to have a whole spiel with this with Josh Collins, of course. You know, what is it about these Ottawa teams that always make them strong? I'd love to hear people's perspective on this.
I would say that they're discipline and shooting, man. Like Carleton, no lie, those guys can shoot the shit out of the gym. I don't know. They can shoot the shit out of the ball, man. I don't know what Coach Smart has them doing, but like I never seen a team that can shoot that good. You know what I mean? Not even in the NCAA. You know what I'm saying? I never seen a team that's shooting like 40% from the field from threes. You know what I mean? Like 50% sometimes in games. You know what I mean? I never ever seen that before, like on a consistent basis. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I feel like it's the discipline, really, that discipline and they're shooting. Like I don't know where Coach Smart gets these guys from, but like they're all shooters. You know what I mean? Like it's just crazy. That was the biggest thing. Like that was the biggest thing playing against these Ottawa teams. You know?
Yeah, no, that's a fact. And even to this day, those guys are always disciplined across the court, and their resumes always speak for themselves. Now let's bring it a few years later. In 2016, you guys do something that has never been done before in Ryerson history. You know, you win the OUA Wilson Championship. It seems like your resume here, everybody has a winning caliber team, obviously from Mizzouri to Ohio. now to Ryerson. That the rosters always have a winning caliber, and you win this championship in 2016. Talk to us about your emotions after winning that.
Oh man, that was an amazing time in my life. Like after going through all the trials and tribulations throughout the years, I was like, I finally was able to contribute to something that was like bigger than, you know what I'm saying? Bigger than myself, really, like that championship is going to be there forever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, I always wanted to be, even though at Mizzouri won championships and stuff, but like, I wasn't really contributing as much as I would like to at that time. Right. So
yeah,
for me, it was more like, I'm finally, because, like I have a winning resume since high school. Right. So I was like, like high school was really the last time I won a championship and was able to contribute to it like directly. You know what I mean? So I was like, gave me kind of like a little reminiscent moment, I was like, yeah, like, I'm feeling back to how I was, you know what I mean?
Right. And that's so important as a basketball player, especially after an injury. Obviously, you have a lost season, that's one thing, but after injury, to get back into motion and hopefully evolving your game even more, and then to win on top of that, that's a tough thing to do in this game, because there's only a roster of 15 guys out of how many teams there is in OUA or NCAA or D2, whatever the case might be. To have that be on that roster that wins at a high level is obviously great. Now, let me ask you something. Was that Ryerson team, or let me reword the question here. Knowing that you guys won in 2016 with Ryerson, was that the best team you've ever been a part of? And I'm talking about Mizzouri with Ohio.
In terms of
caliber.
In terms of overall?
Overall and caliber.
I would say the Mizzouri team was probably the best team I've been on. That one team that won that Big 12 title.
Yep.
But I would say Ryerson is probably up there for sure. They're up there.
And the reason I ask that, because nowadays we have Canadian teams coming in or American teams coming over here and getting their ass beat. So I always like to ask that, because there's a different story now. I think there are certain schools in the OUA that could be in the NCAA tournament or the NCAA D1 division. So that's another discussion in itself that maybe we'll have one day. But knowing what you know now, would you have still gone? Well, you already kind of answered that question. Knowing what you know now, what would you do, and would you have stayed at Mizzouri, or would you stay at Ohio? Or because you won in Ryerson, does that kind of give you some sense of relief, and you probably maybe would have just started there? Like, what's your spiel on that?
Yeah, I would say definitely I have no regrets, you know what I mean, about life or anything I've done. But I was saying now, everything that I know now, I probably would have been smarter to do the reverse. So I'd go to Ryerson first, like kind of like what Todor did, right? Go to Ryerson, then go to Division I. You know what I mean? So you can kind of prepare yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or I would say, like, I was kind of stubborn at the time, right? And I kind of rushed into even going to Ohio. That was a rushed decision. I was just like, I don't want to sit out. I want to get back on the court. So I just made a quick decision. You know what I mean? I would have been more patient with myself. Overall, just be more patient. Sometimes you just get so anxious and you just want to play, right? As a player, you know how it goes. Like, you just get so anxious. You just like, I just want to be able to contribute to something and just play and be active, right? But it's not always about that. Sometimes you just got to sit back and just soak everything in and just be patient and let the answers come to you.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that is so. Sorry, finish. No, finish.
No, that's it. That's it.
No, I was just gonna say that is extremely important, especially for kids to hear. So we've all we've all learned from our lessons in life where sometimes we speak out of action or anger, right? And sometimes we can't take those back. So I thank you for sharing that. Now, final question before we get to our quick hitters to finish off the show. We have to know, what was it like playing for Coach Reyna? And, how did that help your game?
Coach Reyna,
I see the smile. I see the smile, so I know it's about to be good.
One thing I can say about Coach Reyna is sometimes he has a short string, man. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you gotta be not necessarily perfect, but you got to be on point when you do certain things, right? As a player, whereas some coaches have more leeway, but Rana, I would say he doesn't really. His leeway is not as let's say as wide as some other coaches, right? Like, and I feel like that helped me a lot, right? That kind of made me more of a disciplined player in terms of decision making in games, right? I'd know, like, sometimes you know how it goes. Sometimes you're on the court, you're like, yo, I want to make that fancy pass or that fancy move for the crowd. You know what I mean? For the crowd, or because sometimes I'm one of those players that sometimes I would rather just make that fancy move that's going to be like make that highlight play. You know what I mean? Instead of just making the right play. Sometimes you just want to make that highlight play to have the crowd on their toes and feet, right? But it's not always about that, right? Sometimes it's about just getting it done and kind of playing for Rana, kind of showing me like, yo, like, you just got to get it done. And another thing too is Rana made me more defensive minded. Like, I always been like I have a long arms and shit. I always been like I'd say I always been like somewhat of a defensive player, but I was more offensive minded just because you know how it goes to the world we live in. It's all about offense, right? But Rana kind of brought me back to the importance of defense, right? And being solid on the defense end and using defense to create your offense. That was the biggest thing with Rana, like, but overall, man, it was an amazing experience, man. Especially seeing Rana like in the league right now. Like, I'm so happy for him. You know what I mean? He came a long way. So hopefully, he's able to continue to build off of that.
Shout out Coach Rana, man. Shout out Coach Rana. Devontae, it seemed like you would have played very well for him then, man. Obviously, you being a defensive guy as well and him being a defensive-minded coach, I think you would have fit in well with that Ryerson team if you were to ever come home.
I do think that, and people always ask me, where would you go if I came home? I definitely would say Ryerson with him. Just his resume speaks for himself. And, of course, you're downtown. So
that was another thing for me too, man. Like coming back home, like I've been gone, like you guys know, I've been gone since I was like 16, right? So I was in the States for this whole time, just by myself on my own, doing my own thing. So that kind of played a part on me coming back too, not just the basketball sense. It was more everything too, right? My family and everything's here too. I was gone for like 6.5 years, 6 years. So I was like, a lot of things weren't working out for me too, right? So I was like, you know what I mean? Like, at least like if I'm gonna play, I want to be around my family. You know what I mean? And I also told myself that no matter where I go, I'm gonna play pro basketball regardless. You know what I mean? Doesn't matter if I'm at Ryerson, Missouri, or you know what I mean, or Ohio. I'm gonna make sure I end up playing pro ball by the end of my career. So luckily I stuck to it and I made it happen. And that's one thing I'm gonna leave you guys with this, and for whatever young athletes, aspiring athletes watching this, is don't let anybody tell you can't do something. You know what I mean? Because there's always gonna be someone who's gonna doubt you or hate on you or tell you can't do this and that. But at the end of the day, you can do whatever you put your mind to, man. As long as you stay focused and stay determined and put in the work. Most importantly, you can do anything in the world, man.
I actually want to touch on amen to that as well, but I want to touch up on that too, because you look at even Michael Jordan, who got cut from his grade 9 basketball team. In my opinion, he's the best basketball player to ever play the game. In my honest opinion, I think he's number one. 6 NBA championships, MVPs, Defensive Player of the Year, All-Stars, scoring championship. Like you put him there, he's done it. So to be able to touch on what you're saying right now, don't let anybody ever tell you can't, bro. It's 100% factual. Because Michael Jordan pretty much was told in grade 9 when he got cut, you're not good enough. And Michael Jordan said, fuck that. Fuck the criticism. And I'm going to do whatever I need to do to become the best in the world. So you're 100% right with that, Kadeem, and amen to that. And I hope everybody listening takes this in and takes in what you just said, bro, because that was some good advice, bro. We need to hear more of that in this world.
Oh, one thing I didn't even tell you guys, but another reason why I left Ohio is that I got injured too, right? Like all these injuries, man. Like,
God damn.
I was starting to get into the rotation. I started to play a little bit more, you know what I mean? Because the coach started to realize that I was being productive, right? And then we were playing Western Michigan, and this guy dove into my leg, my same Achilles leg, right? This guy dove into my leg. He was diving, and he dove into my leg, and I partially tore my Achilles again, man. So that's what's. And then after I was trying to play through it for my coach, and he was like, he's like, we need you, right? So he's like, yo, like, because the therapist is like, yo, like, you're gonna need to go into a boot and relax for like a month, take at least a month off, right? So you can give yourself time to recover. But then at the time, like, we were losing, and the coach was like, he was starting to give me more minutes at that time, right? So he's like, yo, like, we kind of need you to be at least available just in case we ever need you. You know what I mean? So I was like, okay, I'll thug it out for the rest of the season, and I'll wait till after the season to cater towards my Achilles. Because I'm just that kind of player, you know. I just want to be out there and help my team in any way I can, right? So I wasn't even thinking about my coach. I was more thinking about my team, and then after this, so obviously I wasn't 100% playing after that time, right? I was like maybe like 60%, 70%, you know. But I didn't really play too much. I was more just a practice player at that time, right? Because I was injured still, right? So then the coach is like, after the season, this guy switches up on me, switches up his whole tone. Like, before, he's like, yeah, like, we need you to be available. We need you to still be a part of the team, blah, blah, blah. And then after the season, this guy's switching up his tone, saying how, like, I'm not going to play, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, yo, like what? Like, you weren't saying that earlier, you know what I mean? After the season, he's like, yeah, we got next guys coming in. You might not be in the rotation, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, yo, like, what? You know what I mean? Like, that wasn't what you were saying earlier. Like, you know what I mean? You're telling me how you guys need me to be available, this and that. And then now that the season's done and I gotta cater to my leg or whatever, you're saying how you don't need me anymore, and there's other guys coming in and this and that. You know what I mean? So that's another thing too. I'm gonna leave the viewers with this, young aspiring athletes, that, yo, like, these coaches will say, they'll tell you whatever they want to tell you, just so that, you know, it can sound good, but don't believe everything you hear, man. At the end of the day, it comes down to you. It comes down to you, what you want to do. You know what I mean? What you want to do, how much work do you want to put in? You know what I mean? Don't let and it goes back to what we said earlier, don't let anybody tell you can't, because you can, you know?
Facts, bro.
Now, let's take the ease off for a second. Let's take the ease off.
I love test there for a minute, huh, Devontae?
That's a little testimony for a minute. It was getting real sentimental. Getting real sentimental in here.
Almost at a tear, huh?
Hey, man. I love it, though, because that's going to resonate with somebody. But let's get into our quick
Only on Talk Your Exposure.
Only on Talk Your Exposure. Let's get into some quick hitters here. Ease the conversation before we let you go here today. Would you rather be a rapper or a singer?
Probably a singer, you know what I'm saying?
Okay. If you could sit down. Who's your favorite singer right now? If you could give me one.
I would say, damn, that's a tough question. I'd say
maybe a tough question.
It is a tough question. I would say, would you consider Tory Lanez a singer?
Yeah,
I would consider Tory Lanez. He's both. He's both. Okay. If you could sit down and have a conversation.
Hold on. Usher or Chris Brown?
I'd say Chris Breezy stuff. Chris Breezy.
Yeah. Okay. If you could sit down and have a conversation with anyone dead or alive, who would it be?
I would say Malcolm X.
Okay. If you had a dinner, I'm going to elaborate here now. If you had a dinner party and you had to pick 5 empty seats, dead or alive, who would you bring to the party? This might take you a second.
Dead or alive, I'd probably say Tupac.
No family members. No family members.
Oh, family members? I don't even think I would say any family members anyway, to be honest. I would say Tupac, Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, maybe Nas.
Ooh.
And then maybe Kobe. Yeah, Kobe for sure. Kobe.
Wow, these parties are very interesting. I feel like my party would be so different, but that is okay.
Who do you got?
Who would I get? Well, I'm versatile, so I'm definitely gonna get D Wade, right?
Okay.
I'm gonna put Oprah Winfrey in there. I love to hear from her. Love her show.
Okay.
But then I'm gonna expand a little bit. I'll probably put a YouTuber in there. I don't know if you know who DDG is. But like, I'm not gonna go through the whole thing, but it's gonna go from different spectrums. You're gonna have one singer, you're gonna have an athlete, you're gonna have a YouTuber, then you're probably gonna have somebody have a crush on, then you're probably gonna have somebody else, right? You're gonna be very versatile. But
since Kadeem has been giving us some gems today, Devontae, who would be your crush that you'd be bringing to the party?
Who would I bring? I'm gonna make this quick because this is Kadeem's time. I'll probably bring definitely what's her name? Kaiser Grodowski that just got drafted to the Indiana Fever. I don't know, like mentioned on IG Live. Or I'm gonna bring like Eva Mendez. I still love her. She's probably like 40-something now. I still love her. That's still my crush. You know what I'm saying? But Kadeem,
fine. She's fine for sure.
She's very fine. We like to conclude this show with a game we called In a Perfect World, right? Now, you could elaborate on this one a little bit. I'm going to put you through a scenario here, and you're kind of just going to fill in the blanks, okay? So,
all right.
You're at, let's say, because we're in a perfect world, right? Say you're at Montverde still, and you go through all your 4 years. You are a 5-star recruit. You have all the schools in the world. You kind of already did have that, so now you have the luxury of going anywhere you want. Can't be Missouri. Where would you go?
Can't be Ohio.
Can't be Ohio.
It'd probably be somewhere warm, to be honest with you. So probably somewhere in Florida, maybe University of Florida, or maybe even somewhere in Cali, like University of Cali, UCLA.
Give me one school so we can lock it in.
I'd say UCLA.
UCLA. I like
UCLA.
I like UCLA. That's not a bad choice. Finally, we're going to the West Coast. Thank God. And see, I like this. I like this. So you're at UCLA. You're doing what you got to do. Double-digit score. All team Pac-12. First team all freshmen. Right. You're obviously now still having talks about being in the draft boards, and you know how it go. You can't dictate where you're going to go in the league, but depending on the way you answer in interviews, you could kind of, I like this franchise. We had a good workout. You can kind of dictate, where you're going to land verbally. So you're in the lottery pick. Where would you go in the NBA if you had the option? In a perfect world.
You already know. You see the T-shirt. You already know. You see the T-shirt.
Wow. Yo, Steven, I'm taking Toronto out because we're Canadians. We need to, but why? All right. You know what? You don't need to explain why, because it's in a perfect world, right? So you're in Toronto. You have a great rookie contract. Your 4 years are up, right? You are leading Toronto with Nick Nurse right now. Now, it never ends up this way because of the way our taxes work. But we have enough luxury tax where we can bring in 2 superstars. I'm going to give you the rules for this. First person that you could pick up either has to be a rookie or a sophomore, right? And then the other person you could pick up is a vet in this case. They've done their 4 years in the league. So anybody, pretty much anybody that's done their rookie contract. Who are those 2 players that you're telling to come to the 6 so we could get this championship?
So
rookie or sophomore for one person, and then any vet done their 4 years.
I would say rookie. I would say LaMelo. Sorry,
LaMelo. Okay.
And then vet, I would say So he has to be in the league right now, right?
Yeah, he has to be in the league. In this perfect world, he has to be in the league.
Okay, I would say man, that's a tough one, man.
It's a very tough one. Yeah.
Vet, I would say maybe Carmelo Anthony stuff.
Wow.
Yeah, that's my guy.
LaMelo and Carmelo. Okay.
I like that a lot.
You can't go wrong with Melo, man. That guy's going to show me how to score at every single position. You know what I mean?
That's a fact. I think those 2 players complement your game a lot. I can see that being a big 3 in this perfect world. But last question. Who do you watch in the NBA right now? You know what? I'm going to turn on the television today because I love watching these guys.
Dame Dollar.
Dame Dollar. Pop my collar.
I know that made Devontae happy. Devontae's been very happy this whole podcast, clearly.
Yes, I have.
You're a Dame Dollar guy too?
That's my favorite player in the NBA right now. So I can elaborate on him forever. I'm not going to do that right now. But yeah, that's my favorite player right now. Okay.
Yeah.
Last question we want to ask you, Kadeem, is who is somebody that you would like to see on Talk Your Exposure? But here's the kicker, though. Here's the kicker. If we can't get them on the show, you have to help us get them on the show.
All right, for sure. I would say, you guys got Negus yet?
We had Negus.
Yeah, we got Negus.
We had Negus. You got Nick Wiggins?
We've had Nick.
You had Nick? Okay.
Nick. But like, we're gonna have to get Nick again though because of some complications that happened before. But we're gonna have to get Nick again.
Marvell. I'd like to see Marvell on that. You guys had Marvell?
Who's Marvell?
Marvell White. See, yes, he's the older guy. He's the older head. Okay. You guys don't know about Marvell, eh?
Marvell White.
Okay.
He's an older head, man. He's like 3 years older than me. You know what I mean? So yeah, he's an older head.
Say less. I mean, like I said, we'll definitely reach out to Marvell White if
or even that young boy that played on Gonzaga this year.
Nemhart?
Yeah, I like that kid's game, man. He's real nice, yo. I love to listen to him. Cause I know he went to Mount Vernon too, so I like to hear his experience too.
For sure. Honestly, we'll definitely reach out to Marvell White or Andrew Nemhart, but if we can't get them on, we're gonna have to reach out to you and help us get that connection going.
Yeah, for sure, no doubt, man, no doubt.
Kadeem, where can we find you on social media, man?
Yo, you can follow me on Instagram, BLVCK_King, KING. Yeah, Instagram. That's it.
Okay.
He just followed me back today, so I feel honored. To be getting that follow back today.
I'm not the most active person on social media, but you know, I'll go on there time to time. You know.
For sure, man. For sure. One more time, Kadeem. We want to thank you for your time. We want you to stay safe. We want your family to stay safe. We hope to be able to see you back on the court, whether it's training, playing, whatever it might be. You know what you want to do. We hope to see you back on the court soon. And honestly, Kadeem, it was a pleasure to hear your story and to hear what you've been through. You shared a lot of good gems with us today, and we appreciate that.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys for having me, man. It's been a fun time, man. Hopefully, you know, we can do this again sometime soon.
Most definitely.